How you made the decision. Today's the day you're going to call, you're going to meet with a financial advisor. So what questions do you think are important? What should you be asking? And just how do you fill up that first initial meeting to make it valuable for both? We go into a lot of detail that first meeting. A lot of other advisors may do more of a get to know you differently than we do, but we feel it's very important to just really get in on it and really answer everything we can. I think the number one question we ever receive is, are you a fiduciary? I know it's important. It's become the word of the day, I guess, now. But being a certified financial planner since 2006, Dave, since the early, or at least the mid 80s, we had to agree to do that from the time we got our CFP. There's certain requirements for the CFP board, the Certified Financial Planning, that you have to do to become one. And one of it is you have to be a fiduciary. So in the business world, there's two different ways of doing business. There's suitability and fiduciary. Suitability means if the product meets, it can be classified as suitable. So annuities or things that generate a commission, that meets a suitability requirement. You shouldn't have more than a certain percent of your net worth in a product, all these different things. We're not going to go into details because it gets very weedy. Fiduciary means very simply your interest as the client in front of our interest as your advisor. Easiest way to look at that is we are we get fees only. We don't get kickbacks of any kind from anyone. There's no commission. We actually aren't licensed even on the FINRA side now. We're registered through the SEC, so we can't collect a commission even if we found that it was suitable for you. It's not something that we can do. I think that's important because fees are very transparent. They're debited directly out of your account, normally on a quarterly basis, so you know exactly what that is. Also now, because of the competitive nature of this world, most firms that hold your money, and that's important too, clearing firms hold your money, not the advisor you work with. They don't even charge ticket charges on stocks and exchange traded funds, or the new words, ETFs, which are just baskets of stock as well. They just trade different than mutual funds, priced instantly instead of at the end of the day. And there's some other interesting different differences. But again, I'm trying to stay out of the weeds and just try to cover the basics here. There are no commission charges. And if you happen to see a ticket charge in the fee arena, that goes back to the clearing firm to trade the security. A ticket charge means that's what you get charged to buy or sell a security. Again, you'll see it on all your statements. The only thing that you don't see, so when they talk about all-in cost, is expenses of investment. So built into mutual funds, built into exchange traded funds, are expenses that get passed to that fund family, to the managers for advertising, for regulation, for sending statements, paper. All of that is wrapped up into that, but it doesn't come to the advisor. So a different way of paying them, but again, fee only on a fee arrangement.
Yep, and that is one of the questions that you should ask is how do you get paid, along with are you a fiduciary? But the payment is important because so many times we have clients or prospective clients come in the office and they say, well, I'm working with another firm, but I don't know how much I'm paying them. And I feel like you wouldn't go to the store and pick out a sweater not knowing what that cost is, right? So that's the same thing. You just want to make sure you understand what your advisor is getting paid and make sure you're receiving value for it. Because there are different ways that advisors do get paid, which you just alluded to a little bit.
Yep. So those are like the first three questions on our list here we kind of covered in one. Are you a fiduciary? How do you get paid? And what are my all-in costs? Those are three really important questions. I kind of wrapped them all into one, but be sure you know that. Those are very important to differentiate between types of advisors and how they get paid. Also, if you're on a fee arrangement, it does show on your statements. So if they bill out quarterly, look at those quarterly statements and say, how much am I paying? It's a value proposition. It really is. So it's not always going to be when the market's up, you will still pay fees. When the market's down, you'll still pay fees. But if it's a percent, like it always is usually, you're in it together.
And don't ever feel uncomfortable asking that. I mean, that is something that we are very upfront with our fee structure, and any advisor should be able to tell you exactly how they get paid and how much it will be.
Yep, and it should never be a hesitation from them.
Exactly.
Okay. What are qualifications? So there's, again, it goes back to fiduciary, suitability, all those different things, but there's different licenses that are required to do what we do. On top of that, we require anyone that's in the Petso office to sit for the Certified Financial Planning designation. That usually, on average, takes someone 2 years to get through the coursework. Then there's a study case, which they call the capstone, where you go and you actually do a full plan, you present that, and a final test. So a lot goes into it. It normally takes 2.5 years to get through it, but that shows that you're serious. I've taken a lot of licensing exams over my years. Eric has taken a lot of licensing exams. The one that I felt brought the most to the table was that Certified Financial Planner. You go through so many aspects of everything. Plus, you have to have 3,000 hours of experience to even get it. So much goes into it. So look at that. Say, are they certified financial planners? If they have designations behind their name, check to see what those are. There's some designations that you can get with a 6-week course, a 1-month course, that nothing's bad. I mean, education's education. If people are going in and trying to better themselves, I appreciate that 100%. But if they have 5, 6, 7 designations behind their name, just know what they mean and what it took to get them. And understand that CFP is hard. It's really hard. So it takes some time and dedication to get through it. Let's see. How will my relationship work? That's a big one too. Do you call me? Do I call you? Do I give you limited discretion, which means you can trade the account on my behalf? That doesn't mean you can send money anywhere or do anything without approval, but you can just buy and sell without having a conversation first. That really is the most efficient way to do things if you are comfortable with the way the money's being managed. People can go in and allocate and do it based on your initial discussions and how you want your money invested for you. That's why it's important to set that initially.
Right. And knowing how often you're going to meet with your advisor is important too, because we want to make sure everyone's on the same page. If you would like to meet on a quarterly basis or on an annual basis, just knowing what those expectations are so that no one is either overpromised and underdelivered or just your wishes aren't known. Just knowing, okay, I would like to talk to you X amount of times. And is there an additional cost for that? Or how often can I call you? And just knowing the situations, we talk to our clients quite frequently. And knowing when they're getting closer to retirement or do have questions, it might be an every week conversation and then we don't hear from them for 8 months. And that's okay. But just knowing what your advisor's expectations from you are as well as yours from them.
Yes, because some people like to meet quarterly and talk quarterly. Others say that is way too much because there's not a lot to changes in between 3 months to the next 3 months. We know how time flies. And if you meet that frequently, sometimes it's a little too much. Second, what is our investment philosophy? That goes back to writing down and telling you, and we back and forth, right? What we think is going to happen based on your situation. We can't tell the future. We have no idea what the market's going to do today, tomorrow, the next day. Long term, we know it's the easiest, most difficult way to make money because if you just leave it alone, it works, but it's very difficult to manage emotions. So that's why we take a lot of time on the high level as well, so that you understand who we are and why we do things the way that we do. But that also comes back to you and how comfortable you are with how your advisor manages money. Not everyone thinks the same. Not everyone is comfortable doing things the way that we do, but we want to make sure you understand that we don't time the market. We don't sit around and say, what's going on today? We think this person's going to be with us 20 years. Should we buy a $5,000 investment today? Well, if they're going to be here 20 years, absolutely. Today is the day you invest. So we don't time the market. We set a goal. And even if someone says, I want to ease in, well, we make an agreement of how long it's going to take for you to get all your money into the market because we don't want to time it.
Right. And adding money is another big question. If you're going to put money in, kind of knowing what the overall plan is, if you have a certain portfolio that's set to achieve that goal, when you add new money, it's not like we're going off that day looking for the hottest stock that's out there, or the one that we think is going to do well. We have your plan in place. We know where that money is going to go. So if you do put in another chunk, your plan's already there. It's just going to be spread out like we have your current funds.